Hello friends, welcome to Audio Tales. Today we are going to talk about the book Stop Negative Thinking by Nick Trenton. Tushar was a cab driver, but just by holding the steering, the paths of his life were not getting straight. His mind was always entangled, especially in negative thoughts. Small things would turn off his mood and he would start thinking the worst-case scenario of everything. If a customer got busy on the phone as soon as he sat in the car, Tushar would think that he must be thinking that he is rude. If he got fewer rides someday, he would think that now my earnings will stop. I did something wrong. One day, when all this storm of negativity was going on in his mind, he thought that he would have to do something. YouTube 1 Tushar quickly ordered the book. As soon as the book was delivered, he started reading. In the first chapter itself, a tremendous thing was written. The tension on the identification ray was clearly visible. While talking on the phone, he was saying, "Friend, this deal is finalized. The boss did not like my presentation." Tushar intentionally showed his reflection. How many times had he also thought so extreme about something like this? He told himself to observe first and then react. After some time, when that man had hung up, Tushar softly asked, "Brother, is everything okay?" The man was a little surprised and then smiled a little. "Maybe it's not as big an issue as I am thinking, but the mind starts overthinking, right?" Tushar laughed from within. "Brother, I totally understand," he said. "I was also an expert in overthinking, but right now I am fighting that habit." By the time the ride was over, both of them had a good talk. When that man got off the car, his mood seemed quite light, but the real challenge was Tushar's. Could he defeat his own negative thinking? In the evening, another ride was booked for him. He got nervous just by looking at the location. "Friend, this is an airport drop. There will be traffic. If I don't reach on time, the customer will get angry." The mind of the earlier Tushar would have taken the same old track. The rating will definitely go down and the customer will complain. But now he was the new Tushar who had learned the first lesson from his book. He asked himself, "Is this the real fact? Is it true, or is it just my mind thinking the worst case?" The fact was that he had to leave on time and had to check alternative routes on the way. He quickly opened Google Maps and checked the traffic. It was a long way, but he could have informed the client beforehand. When he picked up the customer, he casually said, "Sir, there is a lot of traffic, but I have checked the shortest route and will drop you comfortably." The customer just said, "Okay," and got busy with his phone. So I didn't need to imagine an angry customer. Tushar thought. His mind was slowly understanding a pattern. All the negative things happen only in my mind. Reality is not always so bad. He laughed at himself. If I can overtake my own thoughts, then I can handle any traffic. Coming home at night, he started reading the second chapter of the book. Now he was enjoying not only reading the book but also seeing real changes in his life. Tushar now realized that just recognizing negative thoughts is not enough. To fight them, it is also important to be strong from within. Every day there used to be some problem or the other, sometimes a customer complaint, sometimes a small problem with the car, sometimes getting less rides. Earlier all this used to give him a lot of stress, but now after reading the next chapter of the book he understood a new thing. Emotional resilience means problems will come, but one has to get used to getting out of them quickly. His first test happened the very next day. A long ride was booked early in the morning. He thought that today would be a good start, but when he reached the pickup point, the customer was nowhere to be seen. He called and a voice came from the other side. "Hey brother, I have cancelled the ride." Tushar got angry. "Friend, what kind of joke is this? You have wasted time." If it would have been the earlier Tushar, his mood would have been off the whole day. He would have thought that my time was wasted. I did not get money and the day got spoiled. But this time he remembered the words of the book. Emotional resilience means not letting one setback run your whole day. He took a deep breath and said to himself, "Okay, this was just one ride. The whole day is still left." He came back to the main road and started waiting for the next ride. Got a new ride in just a few minutes. Sometimes life only wants you to bear a setback, and then it gives you a chance to move ahead. In the afternoon, he had to drop a businessman to the airport. The man was busy on a call. Tension was clearly visible on his face. On the way, when he hung up, Tushar saw that he was looking very upset. He casually asked, "Sir, was there any problem?" The man gave a light smile. "Oh, what should I tell you? There was a big deal which got missed, so much time and hard work was put in, and at the last moment some issue happened. If you like our free summary, then you can subscribe to our channel, you can buy our membership or support us through UPI. Now let's go back to the summary. Now I don't understand what to do. Tushar felt as if someone has told him about his old vid. Sir, I am reading a book. There was a good thing written in it. If any setback or defeat stops you, then it means that you have not become bigger than that thing. But if you can stand again even after falling, then any defeat is yours. It cannot be permanent. The guy remained silent for some time and then said, "Friend, you are right. I should focus on the next step and not get stuck on this defeat." When he made the payment while landing at the airport, he gave an extra tip and said, "Thanks for the ride and the wisdom." Tushar said to himself, emotional resilience is not just for handling oneself, but it is also a way to give courage to others. At night, when he was parking his car, suddenly the tire of the car got punctured. This was a new problem after a tiring day. If this had happened a few weeks ago, Tushar would have been banging his head on the seat of the car in anger. But now he said to himself, "Come on, this is just another challenge. I will handle this too." He quickly took out his spare tire and started changing it. Another driver was standing nearby who came to help him. After the work was over, that driver said, "Brother, your mood has not got spoiled at all. If I would have been there, I would have flared up with anger." Tushar said laughingly, "Now I have learnt that nothing happens by giving up on small things." That night, when he lay down on the bed, he gave himself a small test. He recalled 3 disturbing moments that happened during the day. The cancelled ride, the businessman's talk, and the punctured tire. Then he asked himself, did any of these ruin my day? The answer was clear no. Tushar took a deep breath and smiled. He picked up the book and marked the next chapter. He was ready for the next lesson. Life was no longer the same for Tushar. He was the same cab driver, the same car, the same crowded city. But now his thinking had started changing. Where earlier he used to get upset over every small thing, now he had started looking at things with a new perspective. But one thing was still left, his relationship with himself. He realized that even though he had learned to recognize and handle negative thoughts, he was very harsh about himself. If he ever made a mistake, he would curse himself for hours. He realized that he was being kind to others but not to himself. One day when he read the book, he came to know a new thing, self-compassion and attitude, that is, treat yourself the way you do. Behave like you would with a good friend. If you make a mistake, instead of cursing yourself, learn and move on. And the most important thing is to focus on things that are going right, not just on those that are going wrong. Tushar decided to try this. The next morning when he took out his car, he resolved in his mind that today he will treat himself with love without any self-criticism. The first ride he got was an old lady who was going to her son's house. On the way, she started talking. She told him about her childhood, how earlier people were satisfied with even small happiness and how nowadays people find faults in everything. Tushar felt a strange peace after listening to her. When the lady reached her destination, she blessed Tushar and said, "Son, learn to see the good in whatever you do, then life will seem easy." Tushar smiled and thanked her and thought that he had learned the first lesson of the day. In the afternoon, he met a customer who was going home from office. It was evident from his body language that his day was not good. Tushar asked in a light tone, "How was your day, sir?" The man said in a tired voice, "Like every working day, there is the same rush and stress. Nothing changes by doing anything." Tushar thought that maybe this is the right opportunity to share his lesson. He said, "Sir, I have noticed one thing. We remember the difficulties of every day, but we ignore the small good things that happened." The man looked at Tushar in surprise. Tushar smiled and said, "That means your whole day must not have been spoiled today. Something good must have happened. We just did not pay attention to it." The man kept thinking for a while and said with a light laugh, "Yes, friend, one good thing happened this morning. My daughter gave me a cute note in which it was written, 'Papa, you are my superhero.'" Tushar replied, "See, this is the thing, if you remember only that bad thing that happened in the office before sleeping at night, then you will feel that the whole day was wasted. But if you also remember that your daughter called you a superhero in the morning, then the tone of the day will change." The man took a deep breath and said, "Brother, I understand your point. I will remember the good things of the day before sleeping tonight. At night, When Tushar was parking his car, he asked himself the same question: what could happen today? 3 things came to his mind: the advice of the old lady, the smile of the tired customer from the office, and the effort to spend the whole day without cursing himself. He realized for the first time that life was the same as before, but his perspective had started changing. He turned the next page of the book and told himself that now this positive mindset will not remain only in the book, I will make it a part of my life. Tushar had changed a lot from before. Every day while driving the cab, he would meet new people, listen to their stories, and strengthen his thinking, but there were still some things that he was not able to understand completely. Sometimes when something went wrong, he would again go back to his old thinking. Maybe I am not capable, my luck is bad, or why does this happen to me every time? He knew that he had grown a lot, but still these negative thoughts sometimes gripped him. He read in the book that this is called cognitive distortions, that is, those tricks of our mind which they show us things that are worse than they really are. When we repeatedly tell ourselves negative things, it becomes our reality, even if nothing like that is actually happening. Tushar decided that he will now understand his thinking more deeply. The next morning when he drove the cab, the first customer was an office-going boy. He was talking to someone on the phone and it seemed from his voice that he was quite upset. After the call ended, Tushar asked in a light-hearted manner, "Brother, is everything okay?" The boy took a deep breath and said, "No, friend, a small mistake happened in the office and now I feel that my entire career is over. The boss did not say anything, but I know that now I will never get a promotion. Maybe I can never become successful." Tushar remembered his old days when he also used to think like this. He understood that this boy was a victim of cognitive distortions. Exaggerating a small mistake and considering it to be the truth of your entire life. Tushar smiled and said, "Brother, a career does not end with one mistake. Have you heard, one bad chapter? Doesn't mean the whole book is bad," the boy said laughingly. "Friend, you are right, but what should I do? Only negative thoughts are going on in my mind." Tushar replied, "This is just the game of the mind. It makes us see small things so big that we start feeling useless. But the truth is that remember how many good things you have done. The boss must have thought of promoting you on the job. It means that you are capable. Everything does not end with one mistake." The boy nodded and said, "Friend, I understand your point. I was talking so harshly to myself, which is probably not true." Tushar felt good that he helped change someone's thinking, but the real test was his own. In the evening he booked a big ride. There was a long fare, due to which today's earnings could have been good, but when he reached the pickup location, the customer canceled the booking. Tushar's mood got spoiled. Tushar would have been like before. He would have thought that my luck is bad. Why does this always happen to me? But this time he stopped himself. He remembered the lessons of his own book. Can I take things to be true? He took a deep breath and told himself that this is just a cancellation. It does not mean that my whole day is ruined. There will still be more rides, and if I earn a little less today, so what? This does not happen every day. He realized that his mind was forcing him to think negative things, but now he had understood this game. When he remembered his day at night, he saw how he had already started forgiving himself, was not making things too big and was controlling his thinking. He smiled and turned the next page of the book and said to himself, "Now I will not fall into the trap of my mind." Tushar had now started understanding his thinking in a better way than before. He realized that his mind sometimes unnecessarily exaggerates things, and if he catches it smartly, he can save himself from negativity. But despite this, it used to happen on some days when stress and fatigue would dominate. He had understood that it is not enough to just recognize negative thoughts, but one should also know how to handle oneself after that. This book, the next lesson was self-awareness and self-soothing. It was a matter of one day. Tushar had driven the whole day and he had hardly got time to eat. Fatigue was at its peak. On top of that, a customer scolded him badly because there was some delay in the traffic. Tushar got angry and sad too. He thought, I did not do anything wrong, yet this person spoke to me so badly. Am I really so worthless that people talk to me like this? If it would have been the old Tushar, then his whole day would have been ruined, but now he stopped himself. He asked himself, am I just overreacting because of my fatigue and stress? He took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. He knew that at this time he would have to control his mind. He parked the car on the side, closed his eyes and took some deep breaths. He just calmed himself down for a few minutes and then thought that the customer must have had some problem of his own. Maybe his day also went bad. It was not my fault, and my value does not decrease because of the words of a stranger. After some time, he said as he turned on his favorite song and slowly started feeling better. He realized that this is what self-soothing means. Understanding yourself. Coming out of your feelinglessness. Music. The next day, Tushar got a customer who seemed very upset. As soon as he got into the car, he started arguing loudly with someone on the phone. After finishing the call, he took a deep breath and put his hand on his forehead. Tushar realized that this man was also under stress. He asked in a light tone, "Brother, you seem to be stressed out a lot." The man said sadly, "What should I tell you, friend? The pressure of life is increasing. It is getting difficult to manage work, family, money, everything. Sometimes, it feels like I am not getting a break." Tushar understood that this man was also feeling the same as he did yesterday. He replied, "Brother, this happens to everyone, but sometimes it is necessary to give yourself a break." The man asked in a confused tone, "Meaning?" Tushar laughed and said, "Meaning that if our mind and heart are tired, then we need to give ourselves some rest, like I was yesterday. I was under stress the whole day, then to calm myself down, I took a 5-minute break, took deep breaths and listened to my favorite song. This did make a difference. Whenever I felt that things were going out of control, I should stop and control myself." The man started thinking something, then smiled and said, "Friend, you are right. Maybe I am pushing myself too much. Sometimes one should give oneself some space too." At night, when Tushar was recapping his day, he realized that now he was not only helping himself but also others. He was no longer just a cab driver. He had become a person who had started understanding himself and others. He promised himself that from now on, whenever the stress would increase, he would first turn to his feelingless. He turned the next page of the book and said to himself, "Now I am ready to face every difficulty." Tushar was now slowly learning to control his thinking. He had understood that whenever a negative thought comes, one should not just accept it as it is. Rather, it should be challenged, but old habits do not go away so quickly. Many times if things did not happen according to his wish, the same old fear and disappointment would return inside him. He knew that he needed to work on this more. One day, Tushar's car tire got punctured. He was already a little late that day. On top of this problem, a negative thought immediately came to his mind. Why does this always happen to me? Will I ever be able to be stable in my life? The earlier Tushar would have probably been engrossed in this thought the whole day, but now he stopped himself. He remembered that passage of the book in which it was written that learn to challenge negative thoughts. Don't believe every thought to be true, rather ask yourself if it is really true. He asked himself, does this really happen to me? Don't other people's cars get punctured? The answer was simple. This happens to everyone at some point or the other. He asked another question, can this small thing spoil my whole life? The answer was no again. Yes, it was temporary, but it is not going to affect his whole life. He took a deep breath and thought, if I get irritated and get angry right now, so will this fix the tire? Absolutely not. He called a mechanic, got the tire fixed, and continued with his day as if nothing had happened. The same evening, he got a customer who was coming from office and looked quite upset. As soon as he sat down, he said, "Brother, it seems I am not made for this job. Today the boss scolded me in front of everyone. I am not good at anything." Hearing this, Tushar remembered his old days when he used to think the same about himself, but now he knew that this was just a negative thought which needed to be challenged. He said in a light tone, "Brother, can I ask you a question?" The man said in surprise. Tushar smiled and said, "Has your boss ever praised you before?" The man kept thinking for a while and then said slowly, "Yes, just last month he thanked me for one of my presentations." Tushar asked, "And did this one mistake ruin your entire skills?" The man said hesitantly, "No." But Tushar immediately interrupted him. "Then how can you say that you are not made for this job? If everything was ruined because of one mistake, was your previous hard work useless?" The man seemed a little relaxed now and said with a light smile, "Yar, you are right, maybe I am overreacting." Tushar said laughingly, "This is what our mind does, brother. It makes small things so big that we feel that our whole life has been ruined, But when we challenge it, the truth turns out to be something else. That night, when Tushar was remembering his day, he realized that now he stopped himself before getting entangled in negativity, and instead of believing every negative thought without thinking, he challenged it and understood its real truth. He started enjoying this new skill because now he was not just reacting according to the situation, but was controlling his thinking. He turned the next page of the book and said to himself, "Now I will not let my mind be used against me." Tushar was now learning to control his thinking, but a new problem was coming up. When he paid attention to his life, he realized that most of his stress was because he did not set any clear goal for himself. He would just drive the cab all day, take tension of earning some extra money, and remain anxious about his future, but now when he was observing his thoughts, he understood that his mind was just wandering here and there without any clear direction. One night he thought what he wanted. Does he want to drive a cab all his life, or does he have some other dream? He picked up his notebook and started writing. First of all, he thought what he wanted to achieve in the next 1 year. He did not have any big dream immediately, but he wrote small goals like saving some money every month, improving the condition of his car, and doing some basic courses related to finance. Then he asked himself another question: am I working only to earn money in my life, or do I want something else too? This question kept roaming in his mind. The next day when he was driving the cab, he saw that a passenger was arguing with someone on the phone. After listening to the conversation, Tushar understood that he was overloaded in his office because he was busy fulfilling everyone's extra demands. The call got disconnected. After this, Tushar said softly, "Brother, sometimes it is necessary to say no." The man was a bit surprised, then laughingly said, "Friend, you are right. I keep trying to please everyone, and in the end I get upset myself." Tushar suddenly realized that he himself was doing the same thing. He tried to fulfill everyone's demand. If someone made a late booking at night, he could not refuse. If someone asked for a cab at a lower rate, he agreed hesitantly. He was so busy in making others happy that he was completely ignoring himself. He understood that just setting goals was not enough, but he also had to set boundaries. He made some rules for himself that very night. Now he will take rides only up to a limit every day, and if someone asks for a discount without reason, he will refuse. At first he was a bit afraid that this may reduce his customers, but he told himself that if I do and stand up for myself, then who will? The very next day he got a chance to implement it. A customer called him and said that he needs a cab very soon. He has to reach the airport, but he doesn't have enough money. The earlier Tushar would have agreed to go for less money without thinking, but now he asked himself, if I agree to this deal, will I be happy? The answer was no. He calmly said, "Brother, I want to help you, but I also have to manage my expenses. I won't be able to give a discount." The man got angry and said, "Friend, no one is used to helping others in this city." Tushar felt bad for a moment, but then he took a deep breath and thought, did I do something wrong? Should I feel guilty just because I set a limit for myself? He reminded himself that setting boundaries is not selfish, but it is necessary to maintain one's mental peace. Gradually, Tushar started seeing the benefits of this new approach. Earlier, where he used to feel overloaded, now he started feeling more in control. Now he did not feel tired after work, but satisfied. His savings were also gradually increasing because he was managing money wisely. One day he took out his notebook and saw that some of the goals he had set were getting fulfilled. He set a new goal for himself to learn a new skill every month. His first target was to learn about basic investing so that his money does not just lie in the savings account but also grows. That day he looked at himself in the mirror and smiled. He realized for the first time that now he was not just enduring life but living it on his own terms. There was no restlessness in Tushar's life like before. He had learned to set goals for himself, had created boundaries, and now he had started feeling himself stronger mentally. But one thing was still incomplete: his perspective. He realized that his thinking still often went into old patterns. Whenever he got stuck in a difficult situation, he either started blaming himself or started getting angry at the circumstances. He realized that if he really wants to change his thinking completely, then he will have to change his perception as well. One day he picked up a passenger who was late for a meeting. He was arguing with someone on the phone in irritation the whole way. "Do you people know time management or not? My entire presentation has been ruined." Tushar listened to him and thought, Is this presentation really ruined, or is this just a small setback? He remembered his old days when he too used to make small things into a big thing. When the passenger's call got disconnected, Tushar laughed and said, "Brother, sometimes the things that we consider a big problem do not seem that big when you look at it later." Was this meeting so important that it means that all your hard work has been wasted? The man was a bit surprised at first, then after thinking for a while, smiled and said, "Maybe you are right, I am overreacting." Tushar understood that most of the time the problems are in our perception, not in reality. He decided that now he will try to see every situation from a new perspective. His real test came when one day suddenly the tire of his cab got punctured. He quickly took it to the repair shop, but it took an hour to repair it. His whole day could have been ruined. The earlier Tushar would have probably got angry, but now he thought that this way I will get a chance to rest for a while. He took out his notebook and started writing some new things. Tushar now started looking at everything from a new perspective. When he got stuck in traffic, instead of getting irritated, he would think that now I can listen to some music or continue a good audiobook. If any passenger behaved rudely, instead of getting angry, he would think that maybe his day has gone bad, it has nothing to do with me. Gradually, he noticed that his relationships were also improving. Earlier, when someone at home would scold him for spending extra, he would get defensive, but now he would stay calm and try to see things in a positive way. One day when he talked to his younger brother, his brother said, "Bia, earlier you used to find problems in everything, now you find solutions in everything. How did you do this?" Tushar laughed, "You just changed your perception. Earlier, I used to think that the world is against me, now I thought that maybe things are happening in my favor, I just had to change the way of looking at things." That day he saw himself in the mirror and felt a new peace. He had learnt the biggest lesson of his life. What matters more than the circumstances is the perspective from which we look at them. Tushar had changed a lot now. His thinking had completely transformed his life. Now he did not overthink like before, nor did he take unnecessary stress on small things. The passengers traveling in his cab also sometimes got inspired by his words. At times, he himself was surprised that this is the same Tushar who used to spoil his day by getting entangled in small things. One day, when he was driving his cab, he got a call. It was his mother's call. She said in a somewhat worried voice, "Son, your father is not feeling well. Can you take him to a doctor?" The earlier Tushar would have panicked, but now he kept himself calm. He immediately parked the cab nearby and said, "Mother, don't worry, I am coming." He reached home quickly and took his father to the doctor. He took him to the doctor after the checkup and told that his blood pressure was a little high, but there was nothing to worry about. He would be fine with some medicine and rest. Tushar took a deep breath. If he was like before, he would have panicked in this situation and would have started abusing himself that why he did not pay attention earlier, but now he knew how to handle every situation without taking unnecessary stress. Since Tushar had changed his perception, the stress in his life had reduced a lot. Earlier, where he used to feel that everything was going against him, now he felt that everything was happening for his good. If a passenger in the cab behaved rudely with him, he would think that maybe his day has gone bad, it has nothing to do with me. If he did not get many rides, he would think that at least this way he got a chance to relax. Now everything in his life was in balance, his relationships had improved, his financial condition was also improving, and most importantly, he now felt happier and more balanced than before. One day when he was sitting with his younger brother, brother laughingly said, "Brother, earlier you used to take tension in everything, now you take everything as if it is not a big deal. How did you do this?" Tushar smiled and said, "You just changed your perception, brother. Earlier I used to think that the world is against me, now I think that maybe things are happening in my favor, I just had to change the way of seeing." That day when Tushar looked at himself, he remembered his old face, the one which was always worried, confused and tense, and now the face that he was seeing was calm, confident and happy. He felt that the real change does not come from outside, but from inside. He had proved to himself that if the thinking is changed, then life can also change. Tushar's journey does not end here, but he had learned the most important thing which he was going to remember forever. Life is what we decide to see it. So friends, this was our book summary today. How did you like it? Do tell us by commenting, and thank you for listening to the summary till the end.